We do need God every hour, not just every day, every hour. It's a great, great reminder of our dependence on God constantly. Well, I bet you the guy that came up front, some of you might have been wondering who that was. You know, you saw his name, but I'll bet as soon as he started talking, it became more apparent. You know how those things go. You're like, oh, that makes sense. You see the mannerisms, you hear the voice, and you know that those people are related. Now, I will say that someone did come up to my dad and ask him if he was my brother this morning. So that made his day. But that is my dad, and my mom is here. They're down from Michigan, and so it was a great opportunity to do a baby dedication, even though clearly that boy isn't a baby anymore. He is all over the place. But we're really happy to be able to have the weekend with them. Now we started school. So, yeah, it's a few people this morning asked me, so you ready to start school? I said, oh, we started. We have 3 days in. And I'm telling you, it's great. But it's tiring. It's tiring. So actually, I want to give an opportunity. Not all of the teachers are here this morning, partly because a couple of them had to go back to some other homes and recuperate, kind of, from even 3 days. But teachers, please stand. Stand, teachers. All right. Let's give them a big hand. We'll do a more formal introduction in a few weeks when we have Education Sabbath, so make sure you watch your calendar. It's the last weekend of September. We'll have all the kids up singing, doing praise, doing parts of the service, and it'll be really exciting. But I'll say, walking around the school was very exciting the past 3 days. Seeing the building being used for what it was built for, seeing the teachers do what they were trained to do, and seeing kids, some were nervous, some were like ridiculously excited to start school, and it's just really great to have things going. And once it starts going, you never stop running, right? Have you ever felt like that? As soon as you get started, it just never stops. Now, I was speaking about my parents just a second ago, and you noticed that I got a few things from my father, our mannerisms, mostly probably. The way we talk, the way we nod, the way we smile, all of that, it's right there. My mom, I got my sense of humor. And she is a real dry humor whiz, and I didn't really know that when I was little, obviously, because I didn't quite get it. But now that we're adults, it's very funny. And so, if you ever want some dry humor, go talk to my mom. Now, she's not a stand-up comedian. She's not like me who loves to stand up here and just tell you stuff. But it's nice to know where you come from and where your heritage is. A few years ago, I actually don't know how many years ago it was. It could have been 12. It could have been 15. They're already starting to blur. Is that okay? That they're already blurring? I don't know. But a few years ago, somebody approached me in a store, and again, I have no idea where I was, what I was shopping for, but I know I was in a store, and I remember a man came up to me and said this, "Hey, are you a runner?" I looked around, I was like, is he talking to me? I don't know this guy. He said, "Hey, are you a runner?" I said, "What?" He said, "You look like a runner. You could be a runner. You're built for running." I said, I don't know what to make of that, but no, I am not a runner. I hate running, actually. I really loathe running. I've tried it a few times. I hear that it helps if you keep going and you actually build up something towards running, but I hate it. And the older I'm getting, the more I hate it because it hurts. And it hurts while you're running, and it hurts worse after you run. And apparently that's how you know that it's good, because you feel it. But so this spring, Lisa got the teachers something that I was very excited about, because you don't have to run with it. It's one of these little deals, okay? They come in various shapes, various sizes, okay? Does anybody know what it is? It's a Fitbit, but there are lots of varieties of pedometers of various types and of sorts, and they do different things. These are just really handy. You can just stick in my pocket. I really had a Fitbit summer. I was walking. I've met a lot of my neighbors this summer. I was going on and on. Jamie wondered where in the world I went in the evening. She's like, "Are you ever coming back in the house?" I'd be like, "No, got to keep walking. It's summer, got to get my walking in." I actually walked so much that I think I killed my Fitbit. It stopped. So I need to get it replaced, because apparently you can do such a thing. But it made me very sad, actually, when it died. I was really confused at first. Like, what is it telling me? What is this? These numbers, they're not right. Wake up, wake up. And every time, like just now, I woke it up, and it says the same number every time, 5.86. I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. But it never changes. So I replaced the battery, and it still says the same number. So I replaced the battery again, and it still said the same number, and I was really frustrated. I said, well, then I'm never walking again. I'm through walking. I didn't need any more exercise. I probably got my whole school year's worth this summer anyway. So I'm not sure I'm a runner. But the Bible does talk about a runner, and we're going to talk about him. He's in 1 Kings. He actually spans 1 and 2 Kings. We're going to look at chapters 18 and 19. We're actually mostly going to look at 19. Chapter 18 is the famous one. The man's name is... You're not there yet, are you? 1 Kings 18 and 19. The man's name is Elijah. This is Elijah, one of the most famous characters in the Bible. Glorious end of life on earth experience. Amazing on earth experiences. So obviously the most famous story that we like to tell our kids in children's stories, in Sabbath schools, at home, at school, is about Mount Carmel. The story where this is a couple hundred years after Solomon, the glorious time of Israel. They're wealthy, they're powerful, they haven't lost a battle in who knows how long. They have so many allies, no one even wants to try to fight with them anymore. But that's gone. That's really gone. Like, that's really, really, really gone. It's almost like the sun hasn't come out for 200 years. It's dark. It's a strange place. It looks more like every other foreign land than Israel itself. There are more idols to everyone else than to God. There are no idols to God. It's not even allowed, actually. It's really strange, isn't it? Just a couple hundred years. Isn't it amazing how things change in a couple hundred years? This country isn't more than a couple hundred years old. Well, relatively it is, but I mean, relatively a couple hundred years old. Isn't it amazing how things change? So, Elijah has his Mount Carmel mountaintop experience. Almost 1,000 prophets. That's a lot of people. I don't know if you've ever stood in front of a crowd of 1,000 people. I have not very often. I guess the hospital Christmas tree lighting, I don't think they get 1,000. Is there 1,000 people out there? Doug says yes. I'm going to go with yes. So just imagine that hillside full of people at the hospital lawn, okay, and then you. But really, it's more than that, right? Because you have all the observers. So there would have been thousands of people watching this. And God rains down fire. You know the story. It burns up the altar. It's great. It's glorious. Elijah might as well run for king, but he doesn't, because they don't actually run for king back then anyway. And that's not what he wanted. But he did have a very successful time having all of those 1,000 prophets massacred. That's a great ending of the story, right? We don't talk about that one quite as much in children's story. But that was kind of a high day for God. He didn't just show his power. He didn't just beat the other people. They're gone. It's great when the enemy is gone, isn't it? Isn't it kind of like a breath of fresh air when the enemy is gone? And so you would think that Elijah would stand up and just kind of stand there and, I don't know, put his hands in pockets if they had pockets, which I don't think he did. Or he would, I don't know, just stand there with his arms crossed saying, "Who's next?" But he actually didn't, because it started raining, right? And it hasn't rained for years. Now in Florida, we build society around rain, especially over the last couple of months. Any of you have leaks in your roof? You don't have to admit it. Okay? There's been a lot of rain, right? We are kind of done with rain, aren't we? But imagine not having rain for a month. It's so hot here, everything does kind of start turning brown, even after just a couple weeks of no rain, doesn't it? We all have to go, oh man, I'm going to have to turn my sprinklers back on. When I was living up in Maryland, I went to school there, and I thought it was so strange that nobody had sprinklers anywhere in their yards. And I said, well, where are the sprinklers? And I was saying, what are you talking about? I said, well, how come the grass is green and there are no sprinklers? They said, well, it rains. I said, well, isn't that nice? So what if it doesn't rain? Well, it dies. I said, oh, that seems silly. You can't just take care of these things? Because in Florida, we take care of these things. We water if it doesn't rain. But if it doesn't, it dies, and everything has been dead. But now there's new life, because God has proven a victory for who he is through Elijah, who's been hiding for a long time, and now he shows up and he beats the prophets, but really he beats the devil out of Israel. And it's a victory time. But now it's raining, and everyone's like, whoa, we better go inside, because we haven't seen this. This is going to, when it doesn't rain, especially like in places like California, and they have droughts, and then it pours, what happens? You have mudslides. You have all sorts of problems. They've probably been having fires and mudslides. Be thankful you live in Florida. Of course, it is hurricane season, so we'll just be thankful as long as we can. And Elijah decides that it should be his duty, for some reason, to run ahead of the chariot of the king. Like, not just like random chariots. Like, Ahab is in his chariot, and the roads are getting soggy. I'm sure they're just disgusting, because there's no grass, because it hasn't rained for years. And so the ground is getting wet, and people are probably going, whoa, I even forgot what mud looked like. And now it says he tucks his cloak up into his belt. This is like runner's pose back then, runner's pose. Tuck it in and run. And he's running ahead. And it says the Spirit of God gave him the ability to run ahead of the horses. Again, I'm not a runner, and I don't know how fast that was. Even if it was a trot, that's pretty respectable. That's pretty respectable running. And if I was Elijah, actually, I'm not sure if I was Elijah. If you were Elijah, where would you be running? Where would you go? Like, where you've been hiding. Your home is, kind of in the middle of Nowhereville. And so everybody else is going back to the city. Where do you run? Well, he ran right down to their city, Jezreel. Sounds a little like the queen's name. Probably no coincidence there. Of course it's not. I mean, this is where Jezebel's right on the other side of the wall. He ends up exhausted. Have you ever been exhausted because you've been exercising? That's a good kind of exhausted. Have you ever been exhausted because you haven't had anything to eat for a long time? That's not as good of a kind of exhaustion. Have you ever been exhausted because you've been working really, 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 really hard, and God just did something amazing, and it's so exciting? That's good. But have you also been so exhausted because it feels like you just did something amazing, and now no one seems to care? Well, Elijah was somewhere in the middle of all of that, because he runs down to Jezreel after he just becomes basically the hero, maybe to some, absolute confuser to others of Israel, because when he had asked the people, who are you going to serve, Baal or God, they didn't say anything. They didn't know what to do. They had been there 200 years. They had no direction spiritually. They didn't know. They were like sheep. It's almost like Jesus knew what he was doing when he used that analogy. They didn't know what to do. And so now he has just completely confused the whole country of what to do, of who's right, who's wrong. All of a sudden, all these people they had been thinking they looked up to, maybe they were scared of, are dead. And there he is, but he's running ahead of Ahab, which is strange. And now it's nighttime. It's raining. It's dark. Elijah's completely tired. He goes to sleep by the wall, on the ground outside of the wall of the city. Now, I don't know what the walls were like as far as outside. There probably were some sort of shelters. I'm not thinking this is a Jonah situation where he's got the plant covering him or anything like that. But he's asleep. And Ahab is like, meanwhile, Jezebel! Guess what? She's probably like, I know what you better be telling me. And he goes, actually, it's not at all. It's not at all what you think I'm going to say. Elijah, she's like, please tell me he's dead. Where is he? And he says, actually, Elijah, it was pretty amazing. So everybody's kind of dead. The prophets, they're all dead. His prophets? Like we found all of them and killed them finally? Well, we've been looking for them in the caves and stuff? He's like, no. All of our prophets, they're dead. And Prophets and Kings actually makes it sound like he's starting to have a slight conversion experience, which is really weird because we don't think Ahab's a very good guy because he's not. He's terrible judgment. But he seems to go back and forth like lots of people in the Bible, like maybe lots of us. And so she loses it. You ever seen a woman lose it? Me neither. I've never seen a woman lose it. But some people say that's a scary thing. Have you ever seen a pure evil woman lose it? I have never seen anything like that. But that is what Ahab witnessed. He saw a pure evil woman lose it. She was expecting that he would come back. I mean, they got 1,000 people. They have the army up there. Come on, what's going on out here? Just kill him already. Let him have his little show. Kill him, bring him back, have him be done. He's obnoxious to us. Meanwhile, Ahab says, oh, wait, I think he kind of won. It was pretty cool, actually. Go kill him! He's like, right. That makes more sense. Did you see him after Carmel? Yes, I did. Well, where'd he go? Actually, he was right in front of me, like the whole time. Could you not get to him? I guess we probably could have killed him. We didn't really know what to do because he was pretty amazing. Get out there and kill him! And so a messenger goes out to where Elijah is sleeping outside the wall and says, hey, buddy, she's coming. He's like, well, she's sending somebody. They're going to kill you now. You're Elijah. You just had 1,000 prophets of Baal and Asherah killed. You won. God clearly demonstrated that he can do whatever he wants, and you are obviously his vessel for that. Why not just stand there and say, whatever, she can try whatever she wants, even if he's tired. I mean, I know he's tired, and it is hard. When you're tired, those first couple minutes, all right, let's go with 30 seconds after you wake up, and first of all, you're trying to figure out what day it is. You're trying to figure am I going to work today? Is it Sabbath? Is it Sunday? Well, I don't even know. What's happening here? And then once you realize what day it is, you think, okay, what do I need to be doing today? And then you sit up and you're like, I just want to lay back down. It's hard, okay? And Elijah is going through that, okay? He's literally exhausted. His poor body has just run some sort of marathon, and he's just tired. And he wakes up and he goes, she's what? Where is she? You're right outside her city. She's right, literally just right there. He's like, right. Why are we here? Right, I ran here. Oh no. And he runs away. Prophets and Kings says that if he would have stood up right there and said, I don't care if she's trying to kill me, bring it on. And let's change the story. He doesn't run to the wall of the city and sleep. He runs right in the city. This did not happen. I'm just making this up. But let's just pretend that this happened. He runs right into the city, right in front of Jezebel, and says, you're done. You're done. I really think God probably could have done something right there. She just she's done. Maybe she, God allows him to just take care of her. Maybe her guards turn on her. Who knows what happens? But it would be done. And probably Ahab, meanwhile, because he seems to have that personality, would probably have been like, okay. So Elijah, what do we do next? He may just have done that. Prophets and Kings says there would have been reformation in Israel if he would not have run away. Elijah. I really have a hard time blaming Elijah, though. Although it does say he should have stayed. It's hard. It's hard to stay there and keep going. You're doing what you know is the right thing. You're working really hard for your family. You're working hard for your kids. You're trying to earn money. You're trying to be a good example. And you're tired. Haven't you ever been tired? Many of you tired right now? Many of you may need to nudge the person next to you because they're tired. Or don't nudge them. Let them sleep. It's hard to make decisions for anything when we're tired. But Elijah has a moment of spiritual weakness, apparently. And I think of it as spiritual fatigue. Fatigue. I like that word, fatigue. It just kind of wears on you, and eventually you're just, ugh. And that's Elijah. And he runs to a cave, and he hides again. And he's depressed. He's discouraged. It's so bad, actually. It's so bad. He wants to die. How did that happen? He wants to die like the day after he just had this momentous experience? Isn't it amazing how we can just be like, whew, and then boom, we're way below where we were normally. Not just the day before, but like normal is here. Yesterday we had this spiritual high. It was great. And then boom, we're even worse. We're way lower. Elijah's to the point he prefers death. And he even asks God, take me. I am no better than anybody else. I have failed. I have failed. And his failure may have been that he's feeling like, I had this experience, no one cares. Maybe I just ran away again. I'm a failure, God. I should have finished it right there, shouldn't I? Maybe, I don't know what he feels like his failure is there, but he wants God to kill him. And God brings the fire. God brings the wind. God brings the earthquake. And God's like, look, I can do that, and that, and that, and that. Remember when I did that? Remember when I rained down fire from heaven? It was amazing, wasn't it? You were shaking, weren't you? You were just sitting there going, whoa, that is so much cooler than I thought it was going to be. And that happens all the time in real life. Is God does something and you're like, ooh, that was way cooler than I thought it was going to be. God did something way bigger than I ever expected him to do. And that sometimes God has to remind us of that, doesn't he? I can do that anytime I need to, anytime. But I'm not going to do that all the time. Most of the time, I'm going to come and talk to you. I'm just going to talk to you quietly. Maybe at home, or when you're on a break, or when you're on your way to work. I'm just going to talk to you and say, hey, it's going to be a great day. You're going to do something huge today. You know that person that works next to you? There's going to be an opportunity for you to talk to them. It's going to be awesome. You don't even know their name, but they're going to be really sad today, and you're going to need to do something for them. Or maybe he says, you know that you've been having a fight with your kids? This will be a great day. When you come home, talk to them about that. Spend all day thinking about what you might say. Do something big. Because I'm going to help you with that. That's important to me, so it'll work. God does little things all the time, really quietly. And we want him to rain down fire constantly. But when we're running and running and running, we get tired. And we're so tired, we say, God, just rain down fire again. Boom. Rain down fire again. Boom. And God's like, hey, this isn't how I do business. I do business every day on little things through you. So let me do that. When you can when you need to run ahead of the chariot, I'll give you the strength to do it. If you need to stand up in front of that most evil person in your life who's been trying to kill you, hopefully that doesn't exist ever for any of us, but that was Elijah's situation, I'll give you whatever you need there. It'll work. I promise. So what do we do with that? So Elijah has this experience after his spiritual fatigue. And here I am thinking, I just started school year. It is tiring. And I'm not making excuses. I love it. And I'm an energetic person. And but it's tiring. I mean, come on. Kids are tiring. They're great. They don't seem to ever get tired. Actually, they do. And then they get really cranky. But that's okay. That's when we have the energy to help take care of that too. But you have a job. You have something that you do. Okay? You have a life that you're living. Okay? And God is doing something through you. And you're going to have to keep running, even if you don't feel like a runner. And running hurts. But God's going to say, keep running. I will give you the strength. And here's how. Prophets and Kings uses this. It's just 3 words that she says here. Here's the solution. Faith, prayer, and work. Faith, prayer, and work. She says, in all of our lives, we will have bitter disappointment and discouragement. All we have in a day is sorrow. Have you ever had a day like that? You didn't smile one time. Not just did you not smile, you couldn't stop being like sad, maybe literally crying for hours and hours. Have you ever had that day? Okay, that happens. And we can hardly believe God is still there providing for our needs. And the days are so difficult that many find themselves preferring death to life. If we could see with our spiritual eyes what God is really doing, we would see angels. First of all, that would be amazing, just to see one anywhere. In the sky, flying by like an airplane, anything. But we would see angels doing this. Doing everything they can to save us from ourselves. Trying to get us to trust something more powerful than us. And if we could see that, if you could see what God is doing literally through angels, which are his created beings that are here to minister to us on his behalf constantly. We haven't seen them for thousands and thousands of years. We forget they exist. Okay? But if we could see that, we would have new faith, new life, and bounce back into action. You sit down and you realize what God has done. It makes you want to get up and keep going, doesn't it? It makes you realize, I do have something I can contribute. It does make a difference. I'm tired, but I can do this. And it gives you new life. Tenth grade was years ago for me at this point. In fact, it was decades ago at this point. 20 years ago. I know, Jonathan's like, whoa. 20 years ago. I actually hadn't even thought about that till right now. I went on a mission trip to Honduras. I had gone on a couple of mission trips when I was younger. My parents helped lead a couple mission trips that I went on, that I got to go as one of the faculty brats, to Mexico from Texas. Awesome experiences. But I was younger, and it was a lot of kind of helping and kind of do this so you don't exactly get in the way, but you do what you can. But then we kind of did our own thing because we were younger. But I was in 10th grade now, and I'm into this mission trip. We are in the middle of nowhere, okay, in a helping literally to build a church in this little town that had a building they were using for a school and a church, and so we were going to help literally start their church so that they had a place to meet and to be a witness to their community. It was very exciting. I loved it. If you've never been out of the country, you have to do it, okay? The world is a big place. And that was one of my eye-opening experiences, to realize it isn't all like this. It isn't all like us. And we don't have everything as great as we think we do, actually. So remember that, okay? Life isn't always, as grand as we think it is, but not to be, a downer or anything. But that was an opportunity. I really got to see what I, at that time, absolutely believed was real life. Real living. You get up in the morning, you have to literally work hard for everything you're doing, to feed your family, to earn any income, to wash your clothes, to build, to minister, to anything you needed to do. We went up into these really remote village churches, did vacation Bible schools. It was such a powerful experience to me. I remember literally like it was yesterday. I think it was 20 years like that. Like it was yesterday. Laying in the bed in this, it was kind of like a dormitory thing that we were renting while we were there. I remember laying in this bunk, listening to a rooster crow at who knows what time, because we didn't really worry about what time anything was, because we were in Honduras on a mission trip. The adults will tell us when to do anything. So I remember I was laying there in the morning, the sun's coming up. The windows are open. There's no glass on the windows. It was just, barred windows. And so the breeze is coming through. It's humid, totally humid already. And I remember laying there on the bed thinking, I don't want to go home. Ever. Now, I loved home. That was no statement about not liking home. Home was great. In fact, it was too great. I was going to Highland View Academy. I was in a dormitory. I was at a nice school with really good teachers, really good friends, in a beautiful, if you've never been to Western Maryland, you must go. It is absolutely beautiful. And I'm sitting there in Honduras thinking, I can't do that anymore. I can't do that. It's too good. It's not real. It's a waste. And then I started getting really cynical, actually. I started thinking, we have the big church. My parents lived in the Spencerville area, which is a very professional community. The General Conference is there. It's a very high cost of living type area. And I remember thinking, that big church, and it's all this fancy people. What a waste! Because this is real. And it really bothered me, because I knew I could not go home, obviously. Obviously, I had to go home. That was my life. But I didn't want to. And so when I got home, I did like having my hot shower. I did like Taco Bell being right near close again. I liked my bed. I liked my clothes. I liked all of my regular life. And that really set me kind of uneasy for about the next year of trying to figure out, what am I going to do here? What am I doing with this? And so it was about in the next year that we started taking tests, like the SAT, ACT, and those types of tests. And on those, you have to select what you want your career to be, because they're going to send that to colleges, and colleges are going to try to recruit you and all this kind of stuff. So you have to pick what school you're going to go to, what your major is going to be, and this kind of thing. So I was like, I guess I have to start picking that, thinking, what am I going to do with my life? And so my first thought was, well, I'm pretty smart. I should be a doctor. So I put that on one. But then after a while, I was like, nah, I think I want to be a pastor. So I put that on one. But then I was like, nah, I really like school. I like going to school. Tell you what, I'll be a teacher. Not just any teacher. I'm going to be a Bible teacher. And to me, this was the greatest thing in the world. I don't know why anybody ever chose anything else. I don't know why any of you ever chose anything else, because it is an amazing thing. And so that's what I did. And it was a realization that God puts us in a particular situation where he has us running constantly. Okay? Now, we do a lot of the running, putting a lot of the running on ourselves, okay? But God does want us to go, 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 because he has work for us to do with what we have. And I realized, you know what? Maybe God gave me the things that he gave me on purpose, because he has something for me to do. Because if I am running and I get tired, I can wake up the next morning and realize, do you know what? There's still more work to do. There's still something great that could happen today. And I can do that. So you get up and you do it and you go. Hebrews 12 is our theme verse at the school for the year. Hebrews 12, 1-3. Powerful. Read Hebrews 11, okay, this afternoon, and then put that in context with Hebrews 12. After you read about all these heroes of the Bible, then you realize these verses. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles. Let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame. And he didn't sit outside a wall and go to sleep. He didn't run away to a cave. He sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. And so verse 3, we skip verse 3 a lot. We stop at verse 2, and that bothers me because I always do too. And then I read this last verse, in preparation for all this, for the school year, thinking about our theme. Consider him who endured such opposition from sinners, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. You know how Jesus made it through his trials? How he persevered? I mean, what did he do constantly? What was Jesus doing? That doesn't have to be a rhetorical question. What was Jesus constantly doing at night away from? He was praying. He was getting away from it all. He was taking a few minutes to leave his friends. He had great things going, okay? But he had to walk away from it for just a second and say, God, remind me what I'm doing here. Remind me what you're going to do for me. And then he'd come back and he'd say, I'm ready. Let's do this. And I think Jesus very specifically not just focused on the Father, he focused on us. Does that give you chills? You think Jesus is going through a horrible experience in Earth's history, the worst possible thing that could ever happen, leading up to his death and crucifixion. And he knows that he can do this because it matters. He's going to save people, and that's what matters to him. He's going to win, and he knows it. And so he can put up with anything that's going to happen. So as you are running and running and running and running and running and running and running, and you're getting tired, and sometimes we make a mistake. God didn't throw Elijah out because he ran to a cave. He went and found him and brought him back. God's going to do that. He doesn't stop loving us because we make mistakes. He keeps us running for him, and he helps us to persevere. And he does that by bringing us situations to serve the people around us and to bring them hope of new life with him. Just like the Reformation that could have happened in Israel, should have happened in Israel, did happen at various points in Israel, not right then, but later, a couple times. Reformation can happen in our lives, in your work, in our school, in our church, in our community. It can happen. We have to stay focused and do those three things. That's very important. Faith, prayer, work. You've got something that God's calling you to do. It's important. When you get tired, focus on him because he focused on you. Run with perseverance. Celebrate what God's going to do. Let's pray. God, you are calling us to do something big, and right now we just feel like we're in the middle of our lives, and we're just in the middle of everything, and it just never stops. But you're calling us to persevere and to keep going because we have work to do. Give us that strength that we need. Give us the hope. Give us the reminder of the miracles that you are already working constantly in our lives. Thank you for allowing us to be your vessels as we continue to work for you as we run with perseverance. In Jesus' name, amen.